All right. Welcome back to the Last Week This Week podcast, everybody. I'm Ian Scott.
I'm Zack Huber.
And we're here to discuss some nerd and comic book news today from last week and this upcoming week. But the most pressing trailer that we want to talk about is Quantumania.
Yeah. I'm super excited to talk about this. I don't know if you know, but the Ant-Man movies are actually like some of my favorite. Like I would put the first Ant-Man movie maybe definitely in my top 10. I don't know, my top 5.
Like top 10 MCU movies.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
assuming. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm I feel very excited for this movie because I love his relationship with his daughter, and I just think the whole like cast has been like fantastic. And I know like some people don't love the second one as much, and like I don't either.
Same.
But it's still fun. And,
I absolutely love that first movie. I think the comedy is like on point there. And yeah, I think it loses some of that in the second one. I feel like there's a lot of villains, a lot of subplots that just don't go anywhere. And the villains that are there just aren't very great.
Yeah, they're a little,
yeah.
They're not even villains. I mean, except for what's his name?
I'm assuming. I mean, there's the guy who like is trying to steal the.
That's
building.
what I'm talking about.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
So the Quantumania trailer came out on this Monday, and we got to see it right after watching both the Tron movies, which I guess we'll talk about later. But what is your thoughts on this trailer?
Yeah, I think, I had heard or read the quote from the director who was like kind of frustrated after the first two movies that he was just like making palate cleansers, after like very serious points in the MCU universe. So yeah, I mean, off the bat, I was like super excited to even see this movie without trailers. And,
Well,
I mean, cause like I do like Ant-Man a lot, and and we had heard that Kang was going to be the villain of this movie, obviously because of like, what happened at the end of Loki. But yeah, I think this trailer shows you a lot. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff there. I mean, a lot more Kang than I thought we were going to see, to be honest.
a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's the main villain, but like we got to see like both sides of him in this movie, like the side where he's trying to help Scott and the side where like
quote unquote.
Yes,
help.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's probably for his own benefit.
It's absolutely for his own benefit.
But yeah, I like seeing that side to him. I think that's a pretty cool like way to introduce us to Kang again, is to like feel like maybe he's like a trustful guy, which we know he's not. But
I feel like he was more trustful in the Loki series than.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree.
What are you? Because
when we got to see, when we're getting to see like Kang for the next appearance after Loki, it was very hinted like you don't want to see me again. You really are.
Well, I mean, that's what this trailer I feel like is doing. Like, is like you.
Sure,
he's the bad motherfucker.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, we haven't seen him do a lot of bad things in this trailer, but. It's very hinted at.
I mean, he does the big laser blast, and he like beats the.
Great.
Well, he does do bad things. He beats the shit out of Scott.
You're right. They are kind of a
he
tangle.
Like is like, I'm going whatever you call a life, I will take away. So actually, I don't know what you're saying.
Like for the most part, but like,
yeah. I think. First of all, did you get the impression that Jonathan Majors, like this version of Kang, is British?
I didn't get that impression at all.
I don't know. So I feel like something with his, like it feels like he has a slight accent.
To me, like I listened for it again when I watched it this morning, and I don't know. I don't hear it. Like he's just very monotone,
Yeah, I don't. It'll be interesting seeing like where. Like I feel like part of the appeal of this role for Jonathan is the fact that he's going to be able to do so many different personalities.
Yeah, that's exciting, honestly. To see him like play. I'm assuming we're going to see a different like iteration in every movie that he's in.
That's what it would think. I think
that sounds exciting as
they'll
hell.
probably either it'll be a different iteration each time, or there will be eventually one that like starts to conquer, is like a through line. Right. Or it'll just be like some random variant and like that's the one.
Sure.
So I don't know, but I think he looks great. I'm really, I think a lot of people were worried that like the blue face from the comics would be like very too comic booky and too maybe goofy, but the way that they set it up as like
just
this,
like a mask, basically.
I think it looks
great.
Yeah, I think it looks
like, for the most part, you could pair that up with one of the comic drawings, and it would like it's pretty on point.
Yeah, for sure. Which I'm assuming they're gonna keep that look for most of his appearances. I would hope so. I would imagine. Though I do have theories that like in like the comic books, he eventually is Kang, but he is like an actual other character. Like at one point he's the Beyonder.
Okay. I don't know much about that one.
Yeah. So it'll just be interesting like how because at one point like Kang is an Avenger.
So do you think they would have potentially Jonathan Majors playing two different characters in like the same movie? I think that could. I
definitely think like in this movie or in a future movie, there'll be like the Council of Kangs.
That would be so cool.
Have you seen the Council of Ricks from Rick and Morty?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's basically
very that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just different variations, and it's like a high.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I love those concepts, but like by just looking at them like a little deeper, it feels like they're heavily flawed because the like essence of those characters are like madly ego driven, and for them to work with like I guess others that they would consider equal, like I don't know, I just don't see it. Like I think any of those characters would want to be like top dog,
Yeah, I think it'll be very ego driven, or it's like a subset, like it's a group of Kang who are like, we need to have some order to this madness of this multiversal war that we're all a part of, and then there's just like a Kang that like just destroys the Council of Kangs or something like that. So I agree, like that's, and I think
we're definitely going to see the destruction of it, like very similar to like the Illuminati and Doctor Strange.
Which I think we'll still see a different version of the Illuminati, hopefully in the future. But
I will say the way they wrote that felt very implied that like that was the only version of those like of the Illuminati, and that those characters had come together to form it. But if there are infinite realities, then there should be
infinite Illuminatis.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Okay.
But before, because I have some thoughts about what might be going on, I did want to talk about negatives.
Okay.
That I might have with what I saw before we get into like positives or just speculation. Am I the only one who thought that like because it's not the real world. Mm-hmm. It's very green screen.
It's very green. Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of shots that look very well done and believable.
Yeah.
But on the opposite end, like when they are at they're on some sort of, maybe it's a floating rock or something in the distance. There's like there's like that Cyclops guy and Bill Murray's character at some or all those people show up and to greet them. It's like very.
No, I don't know
if it's shots. Like I kind of feel like there's a screen there.
Sure.
And I just hope that it's not super noticeable during the movie.
I think that is unfortunate because like it feels like recently we've seen Marvel slip on their like special effects a little bit, and
which I think is because they don't have like the pipeline that a lot of people have talked about of VFX artists just being overworked. Could be
you think
the reason.
they're just having to go to worse and worse studios because the current studios just don't want to work with him?
I think everybody's just overworked.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, they put out in phase 4, they put out almost
7 movies and 7 shows, and then 2 specials.
Is it been 14, 15 projects?
14 projects plus the 2 specials. Yeah, so 16 total.
Which is
insane.
I think half of the Infinity War projects.
It's more than that, because before that it was 23 movies, and then they added 16 projects to the universe.
Oh yeah. So it's like over half.
I mean, almost the entirety of phase 1 through 3.
And these VFX companies are working on just more than Marvel. I mean, they're doing DC. They're doing it's ILM's doing work on other things. So it's not just Marvel. So Marvel's kind of like, I mean, other companies too. I mean, but it's just there needs to be something worked on. I don't know all the ins and outs, but
people are complaining about how. I mean, not everybody, but people are complaining about how like MODOK looks kind of like Electric Man from like Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
Wait, who really, you saw that?
Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of it on Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that. I thought, I would have thought that more people would be like super into it, because I'm kind of into it.
I'm into it too. I mean, I'm into both versions. I think I saw the fully masked version last week, and I wasn't like super into it, but looking more into it, I think it looks good.
Yeah.
And I think the face version of it looks good as well. Like, and I don't know if we want to talk about it now, but
we can talk about it. I was, there's so many things that like I was listening to the podcast and also just going over things in my head that I forgot to tell you, or I just forgot to bring up. And one of those things was like, I had heard that Corey Stoll might be MODOK,
right?
And
it definitely seems that way now.
At first, I really didn't think that was him.
Yeah,
and it is nice to know that there is a face there, and that it's a metal covering, I'm assuming, for like battle,
for protection.
Yeah.
I definitely like that concept a lot. I'm happy that it looks like it's Corey Stoll, even though that's different than his comic book origins.
Yeah,
I think tying in the first movie with a character, and I saw the death scene like this morning. It's a brutal, like, he just disappears, and
and he gets very crumpled up.
So it's very left open that like this guy could still be like painfully living in the Quantumverse.
Which I'm very down for.
Yeah.
It would be cool to. I don't know if AIM has been introduced in the MCU, unless maybe that was in.
Who's been introduced?
AIM, which is where
he kind of starts off the character of MODOK.
They might be mentioned in Iron Man 3.
It was just Pym Industries, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah.
But I mean, I'm down for it. It would be cool. It looks like it might be him. I also was. Maybe it's just because it's a bald guy, a bald white guy. That
it could be any bald white guy from the MCU. But
so I think. I don't think he's gonna be like a major role. I think he's like if that is Corey Stoll,
he's like a sub-villain.
Right? Sub-villain. I think there's like a want to maybe get out of that place potentially.
Do you think maybe MODOK survives this entire encounter and becomes a main villain of a next movie?
That's what I was. I mean, it's either he dies in this movie, which would be fine.
Yeah.
Or he goes on, which I haven't seen the movie, but for some reason it would be.
It'd be interesting.
It would be interesting to see that sort of being
in the real world.
But it could also be like too out there. Because I mean, it makes sense. It works somehow in this trailer because it's so like weird.
I don't think many things are too out there for like the MCU at this point. Like, I think they can pretty much go wherever they want.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But that was kind of like my, the only negative. I don't know if you had any negatives that you noticed.
I mean, a positive I'll say is like, I really like the theme coming back of like time, like him feeling like Scott feeling like time is lost. Like I feel like that needed to be a theme with like every Avenger that came out of Endgame, and it pretty much has at this point. But I mean, you know, like Doctor Strange and like he was dealing with that at the beginning of his movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
the repercussions of the snap and how it affects them.
I feel like most of the MCU shows dealt with that for like the main characters from Avengers.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I don't know if you saw the thing about
Black Panther's original plot. Yeah,
I think that's interesting.
I agree.
That it's very similar story, like with T'Challa and his son, and then Scott and Cassie. Who?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. About sons and daughters. I was just like, them like lamenting on the fact that they've lost a lot of time, you know?
But also it's like their kids, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Which she seems like she's taking after him because she's like in jail getting, you know, bailed out.
I mean, not a surprise when, you know, your dad goes to jail at the age of like 1 and then gets locked up again for fighting with Captain America. I feel like she saw those, or, you know, she saw it as normal for like her dad to risk his life of like going to prison, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so my negative leading like from that positive there is that I'm not sure how I feel about Cassie being like, she just looks older than 18 to me. And
I don't know.
I wouldn't mind a different actress in this role. I'll see how I feel about it when I see the movie.
Right.
But I feel like there's a huge like age jump if you look at her from like the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp up until now.
You know, I'd have to see the actor that plays in Endgame.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wasn't even like talking. I mean, I do like that actress. I think she's a good bit younger than like the actress who's playing her now.
But
I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's probably been like
the 5 years.
5 years plus, let's say like 2 to 2.5 more years after Endgame at this point.
Is that when this is set?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I mean, it's got to be, right? I mean, I would be surprised if they went like, oh, this is like a month after Endgame or like a couple months. I feel like everything that's been coming out has been like, yes, it's 5 years like plus, you know. But
well, it'd be interesting to know because Black Panther 2 was a year after the snap.
Did they say that?
It's a year or two, yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna guess it came out or it was gonna take place at like basically fall 2025. Because I look at everything as like 2 years ahead of us now in the MCU.
Yeah,
because I know like Hawkeye took place Christmas 2024.
When did they get out of the snap?
The end of Endgame was like November 2023.
Damn, how do you have these dates in your head?
I like to keep track of continuity. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I get the I get that. I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much.
No,
personally.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see how she plays it. Yeah.
But so predictions. I think that Cassie maybe also feels maybe she's just being experimenting and like she's just interested in the quantum realm, or maybe she's like also feels this want to get back in time to have that time with her dad, and maybe that's why she's experimenting with the quantum realm. That's a theory that I had. Yeah,
that's not a bad idea.
Because she's like, this is all my fault, which like she like is doing something. Yeah,
she sent a signal to the quantum, so she's doing obviously something. Curious, right?
Yes, or maybe like Kang was sending out a signal, trying like
and she somehow heard it.
No, like how to describe? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think of like why she would send a signal down there unless there was something that she thought was trying to reach her, or
maybe
that something happened that she needs to like send a signal down there for like
maybe
something to answer back.
She is like she very much looks up to her dad, I think.
Right.
And maybe she wants like powers of her own. She saw that Janet came back.
Yeah.
With powers. Maybe that's...
You think she's just like, I want superpowers?
I don't know. I mean, she's clearly like gonna be... I can't remember what that character's name is in the comics.
Stinger. Yeah.
Do you think that she
replaces?
Right. Do you think that's a possibility? Like, I don't know if they're gonna kill off Ant-Man in this movie. Like, I don't really see that happening.
I think somebody's definitely dying. I don't know if that's Scott. I definitely don't think that's Hope.
I think it could be both Hank and Janet.
Oh yeah, I think it could definitely be one of them.
Yeah.
Definitely not Cassie.
No,
that would just be sad.
Yeah, that would...
But they're definitely doing like a Young Avengers.
Yes.
So I don't know if she's going to
replace.
Right.
Like, you know, I feel like Kate Bishop has replaced like Clint as Hawkeye. But
yeah.
I'm not sure if it's going to be that kind of situation.
I don't know if it's going to be that situation either.
Yeah.
But Scott could die. It's definitely possible.
It's possible.
But, you know, every single time they set that up, you know, the smashed Ant-Man helmet's like,
when has
you're not dying.
Any of those characters like died in their own movie? Like, I can't think of one.
Not right. I don't think none.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was also going to say that it definitely, the plot would seem that Kang wants something that only Scott can get. And that's either for him to finish a device, which I think it's a device of some sort that he's making. That's either
to get him out of the quantum realm.
Well, it's either to get him out or so he can win some sort of win the war. The multiversal war that was started with Loki.
Could be, but I feel like a multiversal war hasn't like maybe fully started yet. I'd be surprised if we were just like completely thrown in the middle of a multiverse war. I feel like that.
You would be surprised if we were?
I would. I mean, it's possible for sure, but
I think it's very possible that we could, but yeah, maybe I don't know how they're gonna do it, but I also think that they work out some sort of agreement. Scott's like, I don't know if it's gonna be like
they definitely I think come to an agreement early in the movie,
and then he gets betrayed,
right?
But I definitely think that it's either Kang's gonna say like, you can be in this timeline and have this time with your daughter and catch up on those years, and then you come back and it's like nothing's changed, or he'll go back into his own timeline and then realize he shouldn't even go back in his own timeline because then it just messes everything up, and like maybe Avengers don't win at the end of Endgame, or and he's got to accept that he's not.
So that's I feel like that could be very similar to what Flashpoint is.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what they're gonna do, but I don't know what the offer of him gaining back time would be, other than him going back into his own timeline, which I don't know how that would affect things.
Yeah.
Or going into different timelines where she's still a kid during those times, or what the thing will be that Kang offers. But
I think you're on the money. I think it's probably going to be a different universe.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. I feel like that's the only like logical, like, because going back in time was possible in Endgame because there wasn't the multiverse yet. Like, they were able to basically go back to like an identical reality that wasn't theirs.
Right.
So yeah, I'd be curious for sure to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Well, that comes out in February.
Yeah, next month.
Which we both thought was going to be March.
Yeah.
Which is so I'm super excited. I don't know if tickets are on sale, but
I mean, they will be soon for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Same.
So the next piece of news that we wanted to talk about is there's been a lot of stuff going on at DC for I don't know, months now. And there's been a Variety article that came out that was spilling the news, spilling the tea.
A lot of DC news was in that. Yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly. Like just buried in like, there's the main stuff, which is about The Rock.
Yeah.
And then it's just at the very, like just in there in little sentences, you find like, out these new things.
Right. Like some of it was, you know, kind of confirming that the Gal Gadot isn't coming back as Wonder Woman. We also kind of got to see or hear that, you know, the Batgirl movie directors kind of would be open to coming back with like their movie being released finally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the two big pieces of news for sure are all the stuff that The Rock was doing before this movie came out, Black Adam, and the Warner execs liking Ezra kind of sticking around again.
Yeah,
which very very confusing. I think.
Yeah. So, do you want to start with one of these topics?
Yeah. Let's say the Flash first, since that is dear to my heart. But I don't think there's any weight to these execs thinking like the Flash in that iteration could stick around. Like they don't have any say in what like James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to do. And I think with everyone else in the Justice League being gone, like he's done too, or they're done too, you know, like,
yeah,
it makes no sense.
I honestly think that if you work at a movie studio and you are dumb enough to even float this idea around that you're like, maybe we're possibly open to having Ezra Miller back as the Flash.
Right.
They've put themselves into rehab. They're working on themselves. Like
they've stayed silent since all the not even allegations, since all the crime they did. Right.
Literal crime.
Yeah.
That is being like litigated.
Yeah.
I honestly, they don't have any power.
Yep.
Because of James Gunn and Peter Safran, but literally probably like find out who said that shit and you have no common sense.
Yep.
So just leave. Go do something else. Work somewhere else because you don't have any common sense.
It's amazing.
Like how could you? This is a comic book hero that little kids are gonna like idolize.
Yeah.
And how are you ever going to possibly like? I think that people should have second chances, and should like be able to work on themselves and like do what they need to do to you know, but. They fucked up their chance with the Flash. And also, you know, it's not just them. DC should have the old DC
before Zaslav came
they
in.
should have done something about it long ago. But
what can you do when you sink that much money into a movie? Like you can't just write off your main actor because like then nobody will want to see the movie.
I'm saying they should have like got a grip on Ezra long ago and not just said nothing, which is what they did. They said nothing.
Sure.
They should have just like, they should have been like, this is not what we believe in. We're going to like get Ezra help. We're like, they are not going to go do anything.
They could have made a public statement
and they never did.
They never did. But like, that's what I'm saying is that you can't, maybe not can't, but in their thinking, they're probably like, well, we can't condemn our actor who is the lead of like this $200-300 million movie we're making. Like there's just so much money at stake.
I agree that it's a tough like call to make, but the wrong thing to do is to not say anything at all.
Yeah.
I think there's like there's many different ways that you could have dealt with that situation and not, ruin the financial success. I mean, the thing is that it is more financially ruined by continuing for them to keep doing what they're doing with nobody having like anything stopping them. No checks and balances on what Ezra was doing. Now it's like they've had to push the movie back because of all this controversy.
If you remember, they couldn't find him for like the longest time. Like, yeah, they were like in Hawaii, and then they were like all the way in Maine or something. And then I was like, bro, what or is it like New Hampshire, Vermont? I can't even remember. But
I can't remember either.
They were just everywhere doing crime.
But these execs, I mean, this is just like, it's so stupid. It's not even like you don't understand what a like superhero genre is. Yeah. It's just that's such a morally stupid thing to entertain.
Even if they are on the right path, it's just like the public will never accept them again as the Flash.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
How are you going to have little kids just
right? How is anyone going to like explain that when like the little kid grows up and is like, "Wait, they did all this?" Yeah, like it's just a terrible look.
Yeah. But also in Flash news, the director shared
some full body images of the Flash.
Full body images and also a picture of Central City.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that one?
It was a very like small corner of it.
Yeah. Starting with the Central City picture, it kind of it does have that like Zack Snyder like grittiness to it, but I almost found it more like an 80s coming of age sort of like.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that like it kind of felt like like northwest.
Like northeast, like
okay,
like something
interesting
up like a Massachusetts or something.
Yeah, I could see that. I
don't know if Central City is like
I feel like Central City's been done in a bunch of different ways.
I'm not too familiar with like the location of Central City. Like, is it by water?
I know it's like decently. Well, at least in my head, it feels decently close to like Metropolis. But
yeah.
I could be wrong there because, like the Flash, he's super speed. So he could just be like darting back and forth between Metropolis, like no big deal, right?
Right.
But yeah, I would like to see more before. Yeah, I think it looks good, that picture at least. I'm not sure there's much more for me there. Do you
think that, because he's got the lightning bolt almost like batarang in his hand.
Does he? Okay.
Oh, did you see?
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
I don't know if that's just like a prop that was like put on the suit.
Yeah, it could be.
Or is he like going around throwing?
I hope he's not throwing
Flash darts.
Here's the thing. From what I've heard, and it could just be a theory that the suit that he's wearing is made from Bruce Wayne. Which
interesting.
Which I think kind of bums me out, considering like Barry made his first suit, and if that would feel very much like Iron Man and Spider-Man in the MCU,
Yeah.
And I would like Barry to be his own person. I think he was before Justice League, even though that was really the first time we see him.
Yeah. But he still made his own suit.
Right. And he had his own place. And yeah. So
still like very smart person capable of doing like understanding his powers and making his suit to
withstand those powers.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think that that dynamic and relationship will be interesting to like follow through that movie. I'm not sure how much like Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne is in it. But like I know,
or maybe Michael Keaton makes him the suit.
That would be interesting. That would
probably
be neat.
not. Probably
not. But yeah, because it feels like the Bruce Wayne, at least in Ezra's universe, is like
the technologically
a little more smarter. Yeah, right. And yeah, it's kind of like building a bunch of stuff where we didn't see that from Michael Keaton at all.
Where speaking of his suit, I think now it might, like most suits, like you look at things like you see promo. I remember seeing the promo for like Dark Knight Rises when it first came out, and there was Batman on all these different merchandise, and it didn't look that great. And it's been the same thing for other properties. So it's possible that I'm gonna love the suit on the screen, but there is a image of the Flash, Ezra Miller's Flash, running for like a DC Brazil did it on Twitter, and it's like almost like a comic book.
Yeah.
I don't think it looks that flattering, and I might be on the minority of this, but I don't love the
like the lines running through his suit.
Almost like lightning veins going through his suit. It's definitely cool, but I don't know if I'm in love with it, and I don't know. It just,
you haven't liked it since like you saw it in that first teaser in like 2021.
You know, the concept art looked cooler because it looked slimmer. If I remember correctly, like he's in the Bat Cave, and it literally looks slimmer, like how it was.
I'm not sure that was concept art. I mean, I think they had him like fully standing there in the teaser.
Are you talking about the trailer, or
there was a teaser back in like June 2021, I think.
Right, but there was like a concept art of like
that like was before the video started.
I believe,
okay.
Yeah,
probably, yeah.
I thought it looked better then.
Okay,
but
yeah,
I mean, you like it.
I like it a lot. It's not anything we've really seen from a Flash suit, so I get why some people wouldn't like it. But you know, like this version of Barry Allen has been a very different version than the comics, and I think the suit, even though like I thought the suit that he had was really cool, I'm excited to see a new
I will
suit.
say this suit I think I like better than the Justice League one.
Really? And you don't like this one, so you really didn't like Justice League's, huh?
Maybe I'd have to look at it again. The Justice League one was definitely also weird. It's not that I like hate them. It's just I'm not in love with any Flash suit.
But
lately.
I would say like most of the suits from like Zack Snyder's time were like more realistic, like darker versions of those suits.
Yeah.
And to like make it out of basically like space shuttle like material, I think is what they were saying, is pretty dope. I like the concept of that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see like what this suit like is made of, what it entails, like why those lines are there. But I love like the look of it already. So I'm much more like on the positive end than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is that about it that we have to talk about the Flash?
I mean, the other big piece of news in that Variety article was all the stuff about The Rock.
Yeah, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily surprises me what Variety reported, considering all the reports beforehand that was talking about like The Rock, just kind of strong arming, basically, the new execs. At Warner's for his plan, right? And that's pretty much what Variety reported, is that he over jumped the execs he were like working with, went right to Zaslav and pitched his like multi-film plan for like Black Adam versus Superman. And yeah, clearly they were
pretty wild that it's like a multi-movie plan.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying that publicly, like The Rock, and I don't think it needed a multi-film plan.
No, I think it needed about one.
Yeah, you probably could have done it in the next movie, considering how Black Adam ends. But
like they don't have a rivalry that deep.
No, yeah, and
I don't even know how you would string that along for multiple movies.
Right, considering that Black Adam ends where he's a more positive hero, like I don't see how you could write that path. It would have to be like a misunderstanding, like Batman v Superman was.
Which, ultimately at the end of the day is like kind of just frustrating from an audience perspective.
Absolutely, it is.
I don't really have as many issues with maybe other people about The Rock trying to just go straight to Zaslav.
No, yeah, I don't either, because he wasn't getting the results he wanted for like 7 years at this point.
Yeah.
And he's just, I got to go to somebody, you know?
Yeah. Like there's also like something in the article about him doing his tequila bar at the premiere. And I'm like, so what?
Well, I'll say like basically the reason I feel like that was mentioned is because he kept like making these unique demands, even like when the movie wasn't doing great. And they were, oh, my bad. And they were, you know, basically just growing frustrated that like the returns weren't there with all these demands. Like he even, I don't know if you saw this, but he even asked like for producing credits on DC's League of Super Pets when I don't think he was really involved in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I did hear about that.
So yeah, I think maybe The Rock just pushed a little too hard, I think. And
yeah,
you know, unfortunately with that and the unsuccessfulness of Black Adam, it just wasn't going to work out in his favor.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. I think he's one of the only people that would be able to go do, you know, be able to go up to the CEO of
he's
that
earned
company.
That. Right.
But I think, you know, he's wanted Black Adam for so long. And I think the whole idea of centering the rest of the DC universe on Black Adam and you know, and like opposed Superman, to right. Is just, you know, it's a little like it's almost like a wrestling thing that
totally
he's
is.
used to. You
right,
know,
where he like gets to call out somebody and is like, I need you to come here and fight me. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So it's like a whole like a WWE like plot point that like this is a rivalry.
Yeah, and he was hyping up the fans for it. And so
and I just don't think that's the way that any of this was ever going to go down. And
and like I said, unless Black Adam was successful,
if it was successful, maybe it'd be different, but
I feel like, you know, the rough reviews didn't help. Like I feel like if it was, you know, a better quality, then more people would have saw it.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been talked about way more, but it just wasn't the case.
Yeah. And also what was in the article, just like for like a sentence or something, was James Gunn, you know, has written 1/3 of or what was it? The thing said like he's got like the next 3 years mapped out, but then he went on Twitter and said it's actually like 8 to 10 years. And
but I think it's gonna be an 8 to 10 year plan, but I think he's only gonna show us like the first 3 to 5.
Oh yeah.
I think that's maybe what I heard.
I can't even imagine what show he is possibly working on. I don't know if it's going to be the one that's tied in with Peacemaker or if this is something completely different. I definitely think that a Superman movie gets announced in the new slate, which I heard today might be coming out on I don't know why I said the 14th, because I think the 14th is over the weekend. I don't know if they share news like that over the weekend, but
it would be Saturday. Yeah.
But I definitely think a Superman movie gets announced. I don't know what else would get announced. You would think it'd be Wonder Woman and Batman, but I don't know.
I think Green Lantern gets announced, honestly.
Oh man, I would love a Green Lantern, like a Green Lantern movie done right. I would love to have one.
I was so excited for the one as a kid, like the 2009 one.
Man, was it that long ago? It was 2009?
Yeah. Because remember, they were trying to start off the universe with that movie.
Were they?
Yeah, that was the plan, and then it did so badly. And then they were just like,
man.
Yeah, no, this doesn't exist in our universe. And they just went to Man of Steel.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was even as a kid, I was like because I had shit taste in movies.
I came out of the theater basically trying to convince myself that it was like good.
Yeah.
Because I like Green Lantern a lot, you know?
I do too. I didn't grow up with Hal, so I've never felt particularly attached to Hal. But like,
you wanted to
Jon
see the core.
Stewart,
yeah,
that would be dope.
And I think that would have eventually came. Maybe not, but like with them introducing the Green Lantern core as heavily as they did in that movie, I think it would have eventually worked out if it was good at all.
Yeah, it's But so you think Green Lantern's like gonna be possibly announced?
Because it just basically the only time they were ever shown since that movie was like basically in the first Justice League, and then a little more in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But
the first Justice League.
Well, remember like the theatrical version that came out? There was a scene where they were talking, basically looking back at like the first battle where Steppenwolf came down, or like,
right.
And so the Amazons and the like the people and like the Earth and like the Atlanteans were all fighting, and there was like one Green Lantern character that was there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you saw like he died, and then his like this ring kind of like went up into the air.
What a crazy thing! Like that, you would really think that like just one Green Lantern is like super powerful. If you have like an army of Amazonians, an army of Atlanteans, and they're like, we got this one Green Lantern.
Well, you're like, well, that's probably the protector of Earth at that time.
Which is I would love to have a Green Lantern.
Yeah, me too.
That would be great.
It would be,
honestly.
And I do hope it's a movie rather than the show they've been working on.
Yeah, they didn't say if that was. I think they said it wasn't moving forward, but maybe it wasn't completely
that was the
denied.
rumor, but like, I heard like I think James Gunn said that was false and that it is going forward.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, then it sounds like it'll be a show. But
I'm just excited to
finally see the slate.
Yeah. So like it'll
definitely be this month. If it's not Saturday.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be this month.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Or
if it's not, we're gonna storm Warner Brothers.
Jesus. And lastly, like very quickly, there's one other piece of Warner Brothers Discovery related news, which is Leonardo DiCaprio has had a passion project for, I guess, the last 5 years of producing.
I didn't even know this, which is crazy.
Yeah, of producing a Captain Planet movie.
Yeah, which all I know about that character is that it's a very like environmentally conscious hero that was kind of like introduced in the 60s or 70s, I think.
Yeah. Have you never seen a Captain Planet episode ever?
I've seen clips. Yeah,
okay.
I haven't watched the full episode. No.
Yeah. So he's like this teal or green skin, hero with like crazy purple or green red hair. I forget. He just looks completely ridiculous.
Looks goofy. Yeah.
It's it's been spoofed on like Rick and Morty and. And apparently Glenn Powell is writing Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick is apparently writing. He might be a great writer. I don't know, and he would probably play Captain Planet. But he said things that like, it's not dead and it's, we're still very passionate, but it's like, it's up to Warner Brothers and it'll land with all the other superhero stuff. And it's like,
right.
I don't think, like it doesn't sound like they have a grasp on like any of the quote unquote superhero stuff. So I don't see this movie happening. I don't know who the audience would be there for. I mean, if it was done like he said, it's like dark and irreverent and
how could that be? I mean, with that kind of a character, I don't know.
I mean, you do it kind of like tongue in cheek and kind of like a James Gunn sort of way. Like it could be
sure.
And like, like you really like up the violence, but I don't see that happening.
For Captain Planet? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think if this is the case where Leonardo DiCaprio isn't playing him, I think that's way better. I don't
think Leonardo DiCaprio would be playing him.
No, because could you imagine like going through his career and then like choosing to do Captain Planet would just be the most mind-boggling decision.
I mean, out of all the superhero like projects that like he's passionate about Captain Planet.
Yeah, that's interesting for him, but
I mean, I just don't think it's gonna happen.
No, especially since it would have to mean like James Gunn is gonna keep being on board with like other properties that aren't in the main universe.
And there's no way you do. I don't think it's DC. I think it's just owned by Warner Brothers. But yeah, that's
right. Yeah,
just I just
like if they're gonna cancel like Batgirl and other properties that aren't as like they canceled the Wonder Twins.
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah,
like
so,
this is on the same level of a Wonder Twins, and it they start like putting money into that. Like they cast people like, and they're like,
they probably
Discovery took over, and we're like, this is canceled. What were you thinking?
Yeah. So Captain Planet should be next on the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. We have 2 trailers.
Yeah.
We'll just quickly get into that also came out in this past week. That I don't know if we're on your radar or if I put them on your radar.
I would say I watched Renfilm before you had mentioned anything about it.
Cool. So I guess we'll start with that one.
Sure. Yeah, I think the main is that Nicholas Hoult. Is that
Nicholas Hoult?
Right, and then Nicolas Cage. Yeah,
the two Nicholases.
I like both of those actors a lot. I think Nicholas Hoult was great as Beast, and
he was really good as Beast. Yeah.
I also, I'm a big fan of Nicolas Cage, even though he's done some questionable movies. But
did you see him in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
I really wanted to.
It's very good.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad.
It's pretty fun.
But yeah, I think it's exciting to see him as Dracula. I'm not sure.
I think the makeup looks great.
Yeah, he looks good.
Like he's got like, I wouldn't say hundreds, but like a ton of teeth.
Yeah.
Like that's a disturbing amount of teeth.
Now, I can't say I was like super impressed with this trailer because I feel like it was kind of cheesily edited together, and I'm not sure a lot of the comedy hits for me, but I hope it does in the actual movie because this is a cool concept. I think it's like a comedy version of Dracula. I'm down for,
Yeah. I just really want you to see like What We Do in the Shadows, because this is like that show sort of as a movie.
Yeah.
Because they have like Nandor, who is the vampire, and then Guillermo de la Cruz, I think that's his last name, is his familiar who basically like finds people for him to eat.
Right.
There's something about Guillermo and What We Do in the Shadows that like is also similar in this movie that I won't spoil, but it is cool that Nicholas Hoult has like powers that he gets because he helps out Dracula.
Right.
So I think that's like an interesting anti-hero sort of thing that he's dealing with, and I love that Awkwafina's in it.
You're a fan of her, I guess?
I like Awkwafina. She was great in Shang-Chi, and
I liked her in Shang-Chi. Yeah.
I liked her in Ocean's 8.
I think she can be a slight bit much for me, but I think for the most part, she's pretty good.
I like her.
Yeah.
I like her a lot.
But yeah, when I saw her, I was like, oh, of course she's in this movie.
Of course. Yeah, what do you mean, of course?
Just like most comedy movies, I feel like, oh yeah, let's get Awkwafina. Like,
I mean, I'm down. I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
I am interested in like how much like ham they're gonna do. Like how much like I'm Dracula, and then as opposed to like how
modern day kind of it feels,
or like serious, because there does seem to be like
somewhat of a serious tone,
some serious tones. But I'm really excited. Yeah, and I think the action looks pretty cool. Like
I guess I'd have to see it again for that action.
Like I like the humor. Like the therapist, like, what would you do if like you stopped doing stuff for him? He wouldn't reach his full power. Why? That's so weird that you would say it like that. I'm like, I don't know. It worked for me.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. It looks like the thing that I would go. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, it probably should be like a Halloween movie, but
no,
it's probably gonna be earlier than that.
It'll probably be the like next
in the spring or
2 months. Probably. I would say.
Yeah, the other trailer that you kind of brought on my radar was Beau is Afraid.
Yes.
That looks really interesting. I know you really like this director, and I don't know much about him, but
Yeah, so Ari Aster, he directed Hereditary and Midsummer, and he also did a short YouTube. It's a movie on YouTube, short movie called "There's Something Wrong with the Johnsons," I believe is the name.
Okay.
Do not. Okay, if you like horror and you like Ari Aster and you've never seen that short, it's a tough watch for me. I think it's a tough watch for other people, but it is interesting to see how he got to his other projects.
Right.
Like there's a particular gut wrenching horror that he can do that just like twists your like stomach. Like it's not a horror like it's so bloody and I'm like ugh. It's like a deep like I'm nauseous in a sense. Great. Like dread. And that short just made me the most nihilistic that I think I've ever been. Like I had to go on a walk after.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so it was really interesting that he was saying like I want to do a like a comedy, like a dark-ish comedy after he had done like two of the most celebrated horror movies of like the past of the decade. And it's
there definitely is still some like horror elements in this.
When I think that's his mother, and at like sort of the beginning of the trailer, and that like there's definitely like a creepy horror moment, and like the camera pans back, and like it would definitely
that's creepy as hell.
Like you definitely felt the horror, but like my jaw was on the floor. My jaw was like agape most of this trailer because it really felt like he's got such a handle of like the humor, but also somehow it does feel like reminiscent of his other work. And I was just like, I need to see this movie right now. Like it's got surrealism and the world is ending. Maybe this is all in his head. I don't know if this is like
the beginning also shows. Like there's just people outside with guns.
Exactly.
And you're like, what the hell is that?
He's potentially being kidnapped and held hostage.
It feels like he's being like trapped in a place, which is just that in itself is a horror element,
and we should mention that he is Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
And this is like decades. It's supposed to span decades apparently of his life.
Wow. Okay.
So there's that him as a kid, him older but like thinning hair, and then him as like an old man with a beard.
Or do you think maybe time is just like going crazy?
I don't know if this is like
because like
a time thing, or like his mom says early on that you got this all from your father. Is this like some sort of psychosis that he's undergoing? And maybe the whole movie is just his journey within his head just to try to leave the house.
Could be.
Maybe he never even left the house. This is all just him like having fear to like go, because it seems like it's his journey to go see his mom. Yeah,
like a lot of the journey he's on looks like very non-Earth places,
I mean, I would say it looks well. There are moments.
There's moments where it feels like a painting almost. So
I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Like I almost got like weirdly like in the beginning of Elf, like where he's like going through the different
exactly.
Feels like that.
For sure. I basically like I was like, is this a metaphor? It also has, to me, it feels reminiscent of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I can see that.
Going on this journey with these like crazy cast of characters and weird situations that he's put in. And
I mean, wasn't there like also a scene in there where it was like literally a yellow brick road? I mean, I could have been wrong about that.
It?
I mean,
it
maybe not been. But I mean, it looked very similar maybe to that kind of like world.
Yeah. I'm super like down to see it. Wondering how you feel, because I'm like, I know like it looks like there's bits of horror stuff, so I'm wondering if
to me, but I would say like, especially since this is Joaquin Phoenix, I think like it almost has the vibe of like a maybe not like a more interesting, but like definitely on the same level of Joker, where it's like you don't know what the story truly is because this
like
narrator
an unreliable
could be
narrator.
Yeah. And the main character does seem to be having some sort of mental breakdown.
Something.
And
or it's all real and it's something else, which is
scary as well.
Whoa, yeah.
Right.
Terrifying.
Could be even scarier, to be honest.
That would be scarier for sure. Yeah. Definitely.
So I'm very excited. I think this looks really good.
Yeah, for sure. But Avatar, Way of Water.
Yeah, I think that was something we discussed the first episode of this podcast.
Yeah, which by the way, we've been doing a month of this.
Yeah, isn't that so cool?
That's wild.
Yeah. I think so what we heard about the third movie is that it's going to introduce the Fire Na'vi people.
Which what's this? He said ash people.
Did he say ash people? Okay.
Which is a weird way to say
term,
that.
Right.
But,
I think you have a pretty good theory about like, what these people are going to be like at, like their environment. Like I think it's probably going to be like next to a volcano.
Yeah.
And it'll probably show the darker side of like the Na'vi people in general. They might be like a more harsh civilization. But yeah, it's
the way that he framed it. Sorry to cut you off. Was that they disrupted the quote unquote balance?
Like who did?
The fire Na'vi.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Like so. First of all, extremely similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah. I even saw somebody say like before this like news came out that like if the next Avatar movie is dealing with fire people, then like we're gonna riot for like The Last Airbender because like they're just stealing it at this point.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a lot of when we're getting probably to like 4 and 5 that it's either Jake or Kiri who gets all of the Na'vi people to come together to like go against the humans.
My thought is that Jake's dead by the fourth movie.
I think he dies in the third one.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think the kids are like the future of this franchise.
Yeah, definitely. Especially Kiri.
Kiri and his second son who had the whole redemption arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Spider is just, I don't fucking know.
I'm curious to see their youngest daughter kind of age up. She was really a non-factor.
Yeah.
But I think she'll age as the movies go.
Yeah. And it also was saying that like the first two movies were like the humans, showing the humans as the bad people, and apparently this third one, this sequel,
will show both sides of the Na'vi, basically.
Yeah, and which I don't know what that looks like, but
I don't know. Yeah, like what disrupting the balance is. Maybe they're just like actively destroying the environment, which is interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like, they're like almost like a cultish thing, like the fire cleanses everything, and they're some sort of. And maybe like there's like a team up even with the humans, with them and the humans of some sort.
That was my thought too, is that like maybe that's why they're considered evils, because they're helping the sky people like get whatever materials they want.
Yeah, I can't imagine how they disrupted everything other than they maybe are a bit fanatical.
That's got to be a part of it for sure.
Of some, or lost their way getting into something, and maybe they were outcast, and that's why they live by a volcano, which would be super interesting to see what their physical attributes look like, because with the water Na'vi, like
they were very adapted to
tails,
the water, right? They had gills, basically.
Yeah, so lighter, more teal skin as opposed to the forest Na'vi. And
yeah, I think what makes it so like odd maybe that like he keeps introducing new and like different Na'vi people is like, where were any of they like when the first movie was going on and like the Sky people were trying to get unobtainium? I feel like they should have been maybe more like in the fight if like their whole world's at stake, but I don't know.
Maybe it was just centralized on that one location. I can't really remember how the first Avatar was.
Yeah, I mean, for sure it was.
Like,
it was
felt
one
like
location.
it was more just on the forest. The forest.
Yeah. You're not wrong. But I'm not sure.
I mean, it is a whole planet, so you know, I feel like you could be forgiven for like not like people like being people so isolated. Really it's not
realizing,
like that, you know.
No, I get that. Yeah, I mean, it definitely like the second movie definitely like had the Sky people like, you know, even like hunting whales or like whatever. I know he doesn't want me calling them whales, but
yeah, fuck that. They're whales.
They're whales. Yeah.
Sorry, James. They're whales.
But yeah, they were definitely like screwing with the water Na'vi more in this movie than I think they were even. I don't think they were like anywhere near them in the first, probably. So you're probably right.
Yeah. Something like that.
So yeah, not that I'm super excited for a third movie, but it looks like all of them are happening at this point since...
I mean, we're going to see them, I think.
The movies.
I think we're both like, hey, it was an experience.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to look beautiful every time, you know? So that's going to be cool.
It's just, I'm not like crazy about any of them.
No.
Or, you know, the first two.
Yeah.
So
but, yeah, like I said, you know, this movie's now made like 1.7 billion.
Right. And he was saying like
1.5 he was saying.
This like, well, you know, the sequels all depend on how Avatar 2 does.
Right.
And if now it's on its way to probably going over the 2 billion mark, so it's like this movie's happening.
Yeah, well, at the 1.5 mark, he was like, yeah, this movie's profitable now. So it looks like the next 3 I'm gonna have to make. And I was like,
well, I mean, I think the third one's, you know,
pretty much
95% shot.
But
so.
but he was saying that if it wasn't profitable, then like the third movie would still come out, and if there like basically it could end with the third movie. Like there's an ending where it's just like, okay, we're done here.
Oh,
yeah. But now 4 and 5 are going to happen. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Buckle in.
We're
going to have
an Avatar universe.
You know. Yeah. Just Kiri's going to be the Jesus savior that's going to lead all the Na'vi, and they're all apparently like Neytiri, is that her name? The mom, Neytiri.
Yeah. I think you're right.
I think it was said that like in the 5th movie or 6th movie, which is hard to imagine.
I don't think they're planning a 6th.
Well, I saw somewhere like that she apparently, maybe it was from Cameron's mouth, that she's supposed to like the Na'vi people are supposed to go check out Earth because they're like, maybe they're not so bad. So apparently she's gonna make it the whole way.
Interesting, because I mean,
she is the most badass character out of the whole, you know, group. So
I guess
she's absolutely the most badass character. She's like killing fools with like the arrows, like I think impaling them in their aircrafts, and
to me, like she goes like full, like full. I don't even know what to describe it, but like she just goes crazy at the end of Avatar 2.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure I'd call that badass, but because you know she does like hold up a knife to a kid. And,
right. I'm not saying that but I mean.
I don't know. To me,
Jake's cool too.
Like, I don't know if you heard Zoe Saldana's like quotes on her like performance as like this character.
No,
but basically, you know, she feels like with this and like Gamora and Guardians, like she hasn't been able to do the acting that she wants to do.
Right.
So I would be surprised if she like kept in this franchise for the entire 5 movies. Like I think she probably wants to get out as soon as possible.
Yeah, maybe. I also saw that if this movie passes, I think, Infinity War, or whatever the 5th spot is, Zoe Saldana will be in 3 of the top 5 movies of all time.
Well, yeah, I mean, she was in Infinity War, so that would be...
And Endgame.
And Endgame, yeah. And Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well,
yeah. She was already in the 2...
And Avatar 2.
Right, I'm saying like she was already in the top 2 movies of all time.
Then
like,
she'll be in 4 of the top 5, which is insane.
Insane.
We have 2 more pieces of news that I think we'll go through a little quickly. MCU related, talking about Infinity War. Dave Bautista did an interview saying that, apparently he said Drax isn't going anywhere, but I just won't be playing him. And that it's, been fun playing him, but he wants more dramatic roles, which I get. But, this is the role that got you to be able to do other roles that you are now doing.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't necessarily have a problem with him saying any of this. Like, I think he was very excited to play this character.
Yeah.
At least at first, but I'm not sure. And obviously he loves James Gunn, but I think he wanted a little more from this character. Like, I think...
Yeah, I mean, he's become pretty much like a comedic tool at this point.
Like, we do get to see glimpses of his, like, power in these movies. But, he was the most serious in the first Guardians.
Yeah.
And since then, he's been the comedic end of it.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted more of what James Gunn had written in the first movie. Not that he doesn't like these movies. I just think, he as an actor has grown past this character, which is fine for me. I think the thing tying him to it was James Gunn this entire time, really. And without him, he wasn't even going to do the third movie. So, or he didn't want to, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely not surprised by any of these comments.
Right.
Do you think, we've talked about it a little bit, but do you think that in Guardians 3, he says he's not going anywhere, but I won't be playing him? Do you think that that's just misdirect and that he's going to die? Because I think he dies.
But
I think he dies honorably.
It's possible.
How his people are you die in battle, just like a Klingon in Star Trek.
I think it's possible, especially if James Gunn knew how he felt already. Like, he could have wrote that kind of an ending for Drax.
Right.
I think, I don't know if you heard this a few months ago, I think it was, but James Gunn even said that this is the last movie we're going to see this iteration of the Guardians.
Right. Yeah, I heard
that. To me, that's not surprising at all, since, I'm not sure how much more you could have these characters in your plans, considering. I mean,
I definitely think that you could continue writing. Yeah. I think they're such a great group of characters,
I totally
and that
agree.
There's so much of the cosmic end of the MCU that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
That I think the right people could write really good stories. But this does feel like a fine way to end it.
Right. To me, if you want them in the future, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars Avengers movies, I'm not sure it necessarily works as well. You had pretty much the Avengers and the Guardians, and now you're probably gonna have the Fantastic Four and all these new superheroes that you're introducing that have real powers. But really, it's just Drax and Mantis that have powers in this group. I mean, I guess Groot too.
Well, you have Anthony Mackie's Captain America doesn't have powers, and it's not like Ant-Man necessarily has
the suit, right?
It's the suit, and Ironheart's gonna be the suit. I mean,
that's fair. You're gonna have ground level the heroes. Still.
It's just that Guardians, the way that Guardians is that they were in the cosmic, so they were dealing with Infinity Stones.
Right.
I don't know how Guardians necessarily would tie into what's going on with the multiverse.
Right. Because I feel like that's very Earth-centered at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll understand definitely more this year in 2023 because, first of all, we'll have Guardians 3.
Yep.
And then we'll have Captain Marvel, or the Marvels, which is definitely cosmic. And
yeah, I would hope so, at least.
We'll see how that fits in, especially with everything with Miss Marvel and the Bengals. And also, I forgot to mention, Going back to Quantumania, there's like etchings on that device, that machine that like it looks like Scott's trying to destroy with like the millions of Ant-Man, which was cool because it's like an ant. Like remember the movie Ants? How like they have Stallone like, come on, we're like it.
It looked very. I mean, even in like the first Ant-Man movie, it looked kind of like parallel to that, like with the ants in that.
Yeah. So the etchings on that device almost look like I was watching something that it said like those words were kind of very similar to like what was on the Bengals and on Shang-Chi's rings.
It sounds like the Bengal theory could be.
So I think maybe Kang or this Kang or other Kangs are making these devices.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it easily,
but
I think that's a really cool way to tie in Phase 4. Like, just keep not introducing, but keep bringing back these characters that you did introduce, and hopefully they'll have some weight in Ant-Man.
Yeah,
but maybe not.
But I think we'll maybe understand, because there's definitely gonna be characters from this Guardians movie that are gonna carry over. Like, my theory is you have Adam Warlock, Nebula, Mantis, Kraglin, I think that's his name, and and I think like Rocket's gonna not die, and he's gonna be happy, and he's gonna be with Lola and Groot maybe, or Groot just like does like a Chewbacca and just like fucks off and does his own thing for a while.
Is that what he did at the end of episode 6?
Was it Chewbacca or was it C3? I forget. But but he's I don't know. Maybe he'll stay with Rocket. I don't know, but I don't think Quill could die. But I think Drax definitely dies.
That's interesting. I mean, the trailer.
I think it'd also be a little weird. I mean, you could do it, but I think it'd be a little weird to have somebody else play Drax after all this time.
I don't think that's gonna happen. Even though the MCU doesn't mind. No, you're fine. Even though it doesn't mind recasting its characters, I don't think they like doing it.
Yeah.
Unless that character has like massive plans in your universe, like,
which I don't think Drax.
No, I mean they did it with Ross.
I think he needs a way to go out though. Like, what is even his? He needs to like. I feel like die honorably. He needs to like do something that gives his life meaning. He doesn't have a family anymore. Like, this is his family.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think the weight, like the emotional weight of this movie is going to be behind Rocket. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I think Drax's story was mainly in the first movie, and then like killing Thanos in Endgame.
Right.
Even though he didn't have a scene in that where it was like,
you would like that was one of the things that I was a little disappointed
for sure.
About,
that's a bummer. Yeah. But I think I would like to see. I wouldn't mind like seeing a send off of this entire group. Not that I want them all to die,
right?
But I wouldn't mind like this is goodbye for these characters, and that's fine with me. I love a good ending, you know.
Yeah.
Give me a definitive trilogy.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last piece of news. Next week, we will be talking about The Last of Us, which is coming out on HBO. That is going to be out the 15th. And we might talk about Velma.
We might. It's possible.
We're gonna watch it and see how it is. But there is a piece of news that came out that apparently the creators of the show are saying that season 2 is going to be most of the second game. So that leads me to believe that most of this first season is the majority of the first game, which
it would have to be. I mean, I would say...
But that's just crazy to me to like... I would have thought I haven't played like the whole game. Mm-hmm. But that's... I mean, I'm sure you can do it. And I think it's going to be great. Like, I've heard nothing but great things. I think I was like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Yeah. It's got
and
a
that's
lot
for
of
like the whole
too.
season. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really dope. But it's like, okay, I guess if HBO is going to do this, like, it's going to be like maybe a maybe 3 season thing, if not just like 2, which is fine with me. But that's like, that is wild, because you really would have thought they would have maybe like stretched it out a bit longer.
Yeah.
Because the creator of the game said that there's more story to tell, so there might be a 3rd game. That's why I say maybe a season 3. But
yeah, like to me, you like the multi-season arc doesn't work for like just the first game, because like that actress is going to keep aging, and you want her the same. Like it doesn't take place over like years. It's a pretty self-contained like story that's, gosh, maybe a month. I can't honestly remember how long it takes, but I think the first season's going to end with the ending of like the first game, and I don't know how much you know about the first game, but you can kind of play out the ending in a couple different ways, and definitely based on how the second game goes, like they make one of those endings like very canon, I guess. And I think that's how they're going to portray it in the show. Okay. So I'm very curious to see the ending of season 1. And like I haven't played the second game, but I've had a friend who knows a lot about it and has told me a lot about it, and I'm not super happy with how like that game plays out and ends, but I hope they at least like plan like during season 1, I guess, how to tie the two together in a good way. Like I also think you should probably wait a few years before you make a second season, because
that's what
because because she ages,
grow up
right.
A lot,
it's like I think it's 5 years after the first game, so you need that actress to look different.
Or they switch out the actress.
They could, but she's still a teenager, I think, in the second game.
That would be quite the thing, though, that they plan out. Like, we're gonna do the first season, then we're gonna wait 5 years to do the second one.
That would be great.
That would be great, but
yeah,
I don't know if that's what's gonna happen.
I agree. I think they might get greedy and just like want to make the second season like right away. So maybe they just reduce the time gap in between.
I mean, if the guy who's writing it or creating it is the one that made Chernobyl, which I don't know if you saw that miniseries.
No, I didn't.
But it's incredible.
Yeah?
Like, you have to see it at some point.
What's it called?
Chernobyl.
Just Chernobyl. Okay.
So it's about the Chernobyl crisis. And
is it like based on true events, or is it like kind of like a...
No, it's about the Chernobyl meltdown.
Okay. I just didn't know if there was any like anything creatively he did to it or not.
I'm sure there's some creative liberties, but I mean, it's just one of the best things that HBO has.
Nice.
So I trust that in season 2, I heard that the vast majority of people like Last of Us 2, and it's just like there are some people that don't like it as much, but
I think like some people don't like it because they go in an interesting direction, like with Joel as the character. So yeah, I think that's something I'll be like looking out for, since I probably won't play the second game anytime soon or ever. I don't know, but
we'll see. Maybe we'll watch the show and you're like, you know what? I'm going to play that second game.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, this show will hype me up enough for that.
I mean, I'm definitely really hyped. I am expecting the show to be, I'm expecting it to be quiet. Like I'm not expecting I'm expecting it to be quiet and intimate, but very powerful and a lot of character moments. And then there will be these moments of like, better than how The Walking Dead did it, but it'll be very,
I would agree.
Intense.
It's going to be very character focused. There's going to be like a lot of character development with those two and like their relationship.
Yeah.
This movie does have a higher budget than like Game of Thrones for the first like few seasons. So it's like 100 million plus, I think, for this budget. So that makes me think we are going to get some like a lot of action sequences, maybe.
I think the first episode's like an hour and a half.
That's really cool. That's pretty much a movie. Like,
I think, don't hold me to it.
Yeah.
But I think.
I would be a little surprised if they started off that big, because that could deter some viewers from not really wanting to watch.
Maybe.
Because I know people were into like the ending of Stranger Things season 4 because they were so into the show. Like I feel like any amount of time they put on the screen, like nobody would have cared.
Right. I don't know. You might be right.
Yeah.
But I've noticed about like when somebody says it's a show as opposed to a movie, they're like more enticed to watch it. Cause like I can stop it at any point. It's just a show. Which is not how I feel about things, but like with a movie, they're like, oh, it's like a whole thing. I'm like,
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, like an hour-long episode is, just 30 minutes short of some movies,
Right. I guess they're thinking like, oh, if after the first episode I don't like it, then I can just not watch. But to me, like, yeah, if you recommend me a movie, I'm probably gonna watch it because like it is gonna be like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that's fine.
That's what I think. Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Any closing thoughts about Last of Us or anything that we've talked about before we move on to what we've been into this past week?
I just think, the casting looks great for both Ellie and Joel. And I think the trailers have really made the show look really good.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on this podcast, we also like to recommend things, just share what we've been into recently. I guess I'll start because I did watch quite a few things.
Yeah.
Let me see. What did I write down? Because I don't always remember what I watched. Right. Okay. So I watched all of Tulsa King.
Wow, really?
It's all out now.
Okay. You were way more excited for this than I was.
I really didn't think that this show was going to be... Like, I thought it would be cool to see Stallone do something different in a TV show. And it's by Taylor Sheridan, who has done Yellowstone. And I really like Yellowstone. And it's about a mobster who's been in jail for 25 years and he gets out and... They're like, there's no place for you here anymore, Dwight. And so they're like, but we got you this nice setup in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is basically like, they're like, fuck off. Like, we don't really care. Like, you just go do your thing and earn for us out in this, like, out in Oklahoma. But I won't spoil anything, but like, there is a reason why it's called Tulsa King. So,
okay.
But it's funny and entertaining and just way more addicting to watch than I ever thought it would actually be.
Yeah,
and Stallone is great.
For you to have binged, how many episodes with that?
I didn't binge it. I watched it like somewhat frequently.
But throughout the week, yeah.
There's 9 episodes.
Okay, and like about an hour each?
Less,
really?
Most episodes are like 35, 40 minutes.
Wow, okay. I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah.
So doable.
Yeah. There are moments where because it does do the serious, and it's funny, but it also has a lot of seriousness to it. It's not as funny as like other people told me it might be because it is more serious, but there is funny moments.
Okay.
Definitely recommend that.
Nice.
I saw Megan last night.
You saw Megan, huh? I've been getting so many ads for Megan, like just ad after ad. So yeah, how was it?
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's not like the best movie you've ever seen, but it's a solid, I wouldn't say it's a horror movie, but it plays like a horror movie.
Interesting.
Like it has the beats of one, but it's...
So I could see this, is what you're saying.
Oh, you could definitely see this.
Okay.
Like it's not hard to watch. It's more like a thriller. It's like Ex Machina, but a horror-ish movie.
Interesting.
I wouldn't say that she's like Chucky.
Okay, but it's got that vibe from the trailers, at least.
Sort of, yeah.
I heard
it's very like it knows it's a meme.
Okay. Yeah.
Like there's just these moments where she says things a certain way or starts singing a popular song like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like she like does a majority of the song.
Interesting.
a cappella with like, and then the music starts to swell behind it. Like at one point, I don't want to spoil it, but it's just,
yeah,
it's very entertaining.
Different than I thought, for sure.
It really works because of like the aunt and this kid who like she loses her parents, and their relationship really like is what makes the movie interesting. And it's also, it brings up, there's a lot of things that it actually does talk about, which like things with how kids are develop their minds early on, and how they attach to things, and what the job of somebody who's in charge of an AI and should, you know, maybe like these are the things that we should think about, like what we're doing to people's minds. And
right. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so there's like there's some cool stuff, but
Nice.
But also it's just like really funny and really just solid, just a fun time.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard what the director said, but I guess maybe like the original ending for that movie was scrapped, and he like really hopes that he can make like more Megan movies.
Well, there's already a sequel in development, apparently.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Which it's set up for one. I don't know if you heard this story, but apparently when James Cameron was like pitching the idea for like aliens, like he just went up to like the board or whatever, and he wrote alien, and then he wrote an S, and then he could proceed to make like the $sign.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's pretty much it. Like I could totally see like Megan's.
Yeah.
So
$sign. Yep.
We'll see. I will say at the end of this movie that there is a reason for revenge, which is not crazy to, you know, say.
So a main character kind of lives, I guess, and yeah. Then
I mean, it's not like I mean, it's a very cookie cutter horror movie in a lot of ways.
That's fine.
Yeah.
If it's fun, then that's what matters.
It's just really fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So did you have any?
No. Sorry, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched a lot since I took a pause on Better Call Saul, but I watched back to back the Tron movies with you and our friend Ryan.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and
I forgot to add those.
The first one, like I've seen it twice, and this was my third time, and yeah, it definitely doesn't hold up well.
No.
It was very clearly an interesting idea that was had, but like the technology at the time and the way they wrote it really was like you were inside this like video game world for like a majority of the movie.
I'd say like 75-80% of the movie.
And like after a while, it just gets like disorienting
and grating.
And you know, like the story isn't bad. It's just like
the VF, like we were talking about, like the VFX don't give the story the weight that it needs.
Right. I mean, and so many of the like the music, like score choices and like the costume design and set cheesy. Design was just very cheesy. But, you know, overall, like there is a good time to be had at points in that movie. I think, like, to me, I really liked the second movie, and I think it's a good basis for that movie. Like, I like what it sets up, and I really like what happens in between both movies. I really love that, like, all the ideas that were in the first movie get like really fleshed out in Tron Legacy. And yeah, I mean, I think you fell asleep during the second one.
I was really tired.
But you know, I think it holds up. Like I after watching it again, I'm just as happy with it. Like I think the main character centered around his son is like a cool way to re-experience this entire world that's set up.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, it does, you know, kind of go to the beat of the first movie for the next first like 20-ish minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, definitely is like him getting transported in and then going into the games and it's
light
definitely
cycle.
yeah, it's definitely very similar to the first, but yeah, I don't know what it does with the rest of it. The score is like 10 times better than the first.
Oh, much better.
And yeah, visuals are great, but like the story there is I think a pretty good one. Like having, I don't know, a father and son at the heart of it this time was different, and seeing them try to like regain this kind of like lost time over, a decade and a half or so. Actually, it might be 20 years. Yeah, it's 20 years in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think very, very solid movie if you want to check out Tron Legacy. I mean, it's over a decade old, but I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's just like been Critical Role for you too, right?
Yeah, I've almost caught up with where they're at like the third campaign now.
Nice.
Like I think I'm like 2 or 3 episodes off from catching up. So excited to watch them on Thursday nights finally.
Okay.
Because they stream their like episodes live.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. And then they post them like on podcast stuff like a week later.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to end this episode, I'm just gonna I need an outlet for music or I'm gonna go crazy. So for each week I do a playlist of like 5 songs that they'll be listed in the YouTube description or the link tree of our Instagram. First one, I try to tie them in a little bit. First one is the national anthem by Radiohead, which was the end song of a Titans episode where Jason like gives those guys those drugs to go shoot up Tim Drake's place. And I'm like, all right, I don't really understand why he did that, but the song is really dope. And after that, it's a 6-pack by this band called Shame, which is like a post-punk British band, and the song just came out like Tuesday, Monday. It's really dope. Nice. I saw them live. They're really dope.
Oh, and really cool.
The next is Skinny Ape by Gorillaz from their new album that's coming out.
Oh, I haven't heard it.
You should check it out.
Yeah,
it's really cool. It's like indie guitars at the beginning, and then it's like synth, like
that sounds
beat
my vibe
sort of thing, and then it ends with like synth punk sort of like
okay
ending. It's really cool.
Nice.
After that's Habits by this artist named Genevieve Stokes, who I've never heard of except for this song, and it's like starts off like an indie ballad, like almost like a Regina Spektor, and then it's kind of lighthearted, but then the pre-chorus and the chorus are like actually like emotionally hitting, and I'm like just sat in my car being like, maybe I'm not over this thing yet. And then to tie everything up is Goodbye Stranger by Supertramp, which was in the Beau is Afraid trailer, and
it was
nice. Just
that's a really
solid,
good song.
Classic song. I will also say that the 6-pack song by Shame is like a harder rendition of like Money by Pink Floyd, almost like you'll have to hear it.
I know Money. Yeah.
But it's like it's cool.
Nice.
But yeah, those are the songs for this week.
Good list. You should definitely check them out.
You should definitely check them out. Ugh.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning into this whole thing. Hopefully, you enjoyed what we talked about here today, and give us a like, a comment, a rating on any of our platforms, YouTube, Spotify, and Podbean.
Yeah, if you know anybody that would be interested in this, definitely send us their way. Yeah, that's the right way to say it.
Send us their way.
Yeah, definitely appreciate like anything, any comments. We just I mostly interact on the social media. I like talking to people. So
yeah, it's a good time. We've had some interactors already. So hopefully we get more of you out there. But we're also on Instagram and TikTok if you want to check us out there. All our links should be below if you want to check out your music recommendations.
Yeah.
So that'll be on Apple and Spotify. But yeah, thank you very much again for listening to this, and we hope to see you in the next one.
Yep. All right. Till next time.